Mandana. Welcome to the interview today. I'm very happy that you are here and joining me in and to provide your own personal and professional perspective regarding culture and cultural understanding. Welcome.
Thank you thank you very much, Mimi, for having me. It was very spontaneous, and I hope I can share all my personal experiences and all the details you want to know.
Thank you very much. And before we actually get into the actual questions of the interview, I'm guessing that a lot of people would also want to know who's watching this video. Who are you? Can you please tell me a little bit about yourself? And also, for example, what your current position is and what you do there as well.
So my name is Mandana Magharai. I'm born in Vienna, and my father is from Persia, from Iran, and my mother is an Austrian. So they met like 50 years ago. And so all my siblings and myself, we were born in Vienna and always lived here. I studied psychology with the focus on industrial psychology, and started after my studies, I started working in the HR field for 7 years for SAP. It's one of the biggest software companies worldwide. And there it already started to interact and work together with all persons all over the world. So I was sitting alone from my team in Vienna, and I had like a virtual daily working life, just calling people, having meetings and stuff like this. So I was always used to it. Then I moved to a big law company where I worked for 3 years. And also it was Austrian based, but also CEE centric. And now I'm in the biggest Austrian bank at Erste Group. And there I'm responsible for talent management.
Awesome. Thank you very much. May I ask, how long have you been in your current position in working at the...
Yeah, now since 2017, so over 3 years.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you very much for that holistic introduction. And now, great. I think everybody also knows you. Also, I know you a bit more than before, so that's great. And we can already start off the questions. And as the purpose of the interview is to understand your perspective of culture, the first question right off the bat is, what does culture mean to you personally, Mandana?
So culture for me is also corporate culture, very important, and also what people bring from their culture into the company, and how the original company respect or uses these different cultural aspects. So for example, in my bank now, at my company, there we have especially colleagues from the CEE countries and Austria, but we also have people from Great Britain, from the States, so quite diverse and quite cultural. And the art to use it best is to include all these cultural aspects and to try to really live it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the next following question is, what does cultural understanding mean for you?
I think to also learn from other people's culture, to respect it, and also to try to mix it up a little bit. So for example, what in the Erste Group we used to do international dinners. So people from other countries had the possibility to just create like a special dinner from their countryside, and then people could join this and learn more about the food, the culture, and stuff like this. So it was quite nice to get to know all these different countries who were working in our bank.
For sure. Amazing. And next question is, what do you think has actually personally shaped your answer and understanding to the questions, the answers you gave to the questions, for the two questions before?
I think I had the luck to just right from the start, I worked in a global environment, which really shaped me, and also I loved it. So that's why I won't be able to work again just for an Austrian company. I would be bored. So this was quite cool, and I bet this also shaped very special what I want and my colleagues from the international countries and stuff like this. This is the best mix for me. So I wouldn't be able to work only in an Austrian company.
Yeah, understand that.
Too boring.
And the next question is, can you actually tell me an important experience or just a story that has happened to you, which kind of gave you new insight into your own culture or perhaps those of others? Do you have like a particular memory or a story?
So I'm from Austria, and when I used to work a lot in Germany because SAP was located, the next headquarters was in Germany. It was always a little bit like, oh, you're an Austrian, how sweet. And it was a little bit you have to show up, enjoy these very nice compliments, but also show up and say, hey, I'm very senior and not this little girl. So they always say I'm from Vienna and all these, what they know about it. So it was a little bit, sometimes a little bit of fight, yeah.
And next question is, how do you see actually the relevance of cultural understanding nowadays?
Mm, I think it's very important, and it all starts from the board. So how is it, which people are in the board, and how is the senior management dealing with it? And based on this and whom they're hiring, is like a drop-down process. So it's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So we are done with the first section in a way.
Okay.
And the second part is regarding the company cultural diversity. So
Mhm.
the first question is then moving on to the business world. How important do you think company cultural diversity is personally for you?
Very important. As I mentioned earlier, for me, it's the best mix to have the more cultural and international colleagues, the better for me,
Yeah,
because you have these different styles of working, different ideas. It's always interesting. People are traveling and then have to share very interesting stories when they're coming back from holidays. So very, very important for me.
yeah. And next question is then, how important do you think company cultural diversity is for your generation?
I mean, it depends in which company you are working. So, for example, if you are working, for example, for the Austrian Chamber of Economics, it depends. So it's not that important, I guess. Yeah. But for example, it depends. Yeah. In a traditional Austrian company, it will get more and more important, of course, because everything is getting global. Yeah, very important, I guess. Yeah.
And how much does your company cultural diversity, so the places you've worked before and also the current place, affect your own perceptions of cultural diversity?
Very, very much, because you will always have friends all over the world. So it's always nice to have former colleagues who are sitting in Canada, in China, everywhere. So you're always connected. And I have the feeling that I'm more connected to people who are far away via Facebook than people who are living next in the next house. Yeah.
And now it's more company specific. Can you please tell me a little bit about what do you think is the current state of the cultural diversity in the place you're working now? So,
So
Asta.
in my so in my bank, they are very focused on Austria and the CEE countries where we also have subsidiaries. So they are quite focused and international and are very open, yeah, to make them feel home in Austria. And also they are supporting exchanges from colleagues who should move to the other banks to gain more experience and stuff like this.
Yeah,
So I would say it's quite international.
right. And the next thing is then, what are things that you personally recognize that kind of showed steps to improve company cultural diversity in Asta? Like, what are things that perhaps programs or workshops that happened that took place that you personally realized helped and that you guys are currently doing?
So what helps very much is if you have really trainings where people are coming from the countries and pre-Corona times. So before Corona, there you really meet the people, you have the training, then you have a dinner, and this is really connecting, and you learn much from each other. And now, I mean, it's a little bit more difficult, but because of the virtual world, so Zoom, it helps also to
Right.
let this connection grow.
Right. On to the opposite side is, what do you think hasn't actually helped? Like, to be very honest.
Hasn't helped. So in my case, it's a bit difficult, but because in my team there are 5 different nationalities, so my team is quite international. But of course, you have to consider that Erste Bank and Sparkassen, that they really are 200 years old. So it's a really traditional Austrian bank. And there are also colleagues who are already there for more than 20 years. So perhaps for them, it's a bit, for some of them, perhaps it's a little bit more difficult because they're used to it. They're not used to talk English. They think perhaps I'm here in Austria, why should I talk English? Yeah. And for the younger ones, and also for my colleagues who are joining from other countries, it's, I would say, normal to speak English, to have colleagues from all over. Depends from which generation you are and how used to it.
Yeah, for sure. And next thing is, do you think generally that cultural diversity trainings or workshops are actually effective ways to improve cultural diversity in companies nowadays?
I mean, if in this training are also people from other countries, this would be very helpful. I don't know if only trainings can help. Perhaps they can make some awareness, they create some awareness. But I think the best thing is to work together with colleagues from other countries. Is the best way to get to know, to trust each other, and yeah.
And in connection to what you just said, is, do you have some ideas or things that you think could generally improve your current state of cultural diversity in your team, besides doing workshops?
So within my team, it's quite normal. There's no, so there is the awareness. There is no difference where you're coming from, I have to say. But of course, if you look outside and if you're just working for Austria, perhaps it's a little bit to recognize, to remember, please talk English, because there are also colleagues who can't speak German and stuff like this. And if you're working in Austria, you of course forget sometimes to switch back to English, to remember that people can't understand you. So it's just how you get to use.
Thank you. And last question in this part is, how important do you think generally, again, is cultural diversity for international companies nowadays?
Very important. I mean, I think perhaps this generation who are getting, I mean, like you say, startups or these female factors, I mean, it's not a problem at all. Nobody recognize. So you are from there. It's just interesting and very valuable. But I think there's get more and more global. Yeah. So there shouldn't be any problem in some years. Yeah.
And now we are moving on to the third part, actually. And the third part is storytelling. This is kind of related to what I'm basically doing. So I want to know what you have in terms of opinions to it. So my first question is, do you think storytelling is, first of all, effective in understanding others?
Yes, it's the most valuable and most important tool to really motivate people and to get them together, and to also just provide the things you want to tell. Yeah, it's the best way.
Yeah.
I think it's very powerful.
And what do you think would actually help people who, for example, don't very like to share their story, or maybe perhaps are a bit shy, to still, despite that, share their own experiences?
So you mean people from other countries who enter your home page, and how to motivate them?
Yes.
I think just perhaps to say, please tell your story. It's a great chance to get to know other people, perhaps in a similar position. It's the best way to connect. And I mean, it's a great tool where really international people get to know each other very easily. Yeah.
Right.
If they don't want to be video type, perhaps they can write something. I mean, there are different, I saw it on your homepage, there are different tools that could do something. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And last official question is, what do you think in terms of combining cultural awareness or diversity workshops with the angle of storytelling for international companies to increase cultural awareness?
I mean, yeah, great. Sounds great.
And basically, we're done with the questions. And my last unofficial question is, do you have any free thoughts or comments you wanted to add? Do you have anything coming during the interview that you wanted to say?
So I think, I mean, I have to get to know your homepage and your tool a little bit more. But what I understood, it's really like a meeting point for all kind of international people from various business areas, various countries, just to get to know each other and to make their life more interesting and easier. So it's a great idea, I think. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Thank you very much, Mandana, for this amazing interview. I was able to understand more about your insight and also your personal and professional experience before. So that was very great. Thank you. Hope to see you next time.
Perfect.